Alright, so we are up to day 147 of going through my old journal. The quote for the day said, "I believe the world is incomprehensibly beautiful, an endless prospect of magic and wonder." It says, "Do you stop and notice the beauty in the world around you? Write about everything in this world you think is beautiful, magical, and full of wonder." So if you're following along, just take a minute to think about how you might respond to that. And I'll read what I wrote. So, yeah. I said, so again, the question was, do you stop and notice beauty in the world? And I said, not really. I wish I were one of those people that kind of like looked around and found all these things beautiful. I said I've tried to be. I said I've stood at the top of a mountain after a hike. And I said seeing other people's reactions to being up there, trying to feel whatever feeling they appeared to be experiencing, but it just wasn't there. I said I've been in art galleries where people were in awe of paintings while I was feeling bored and ready to leave. I said I literally have to find ways to force myself to be interested in most art. Generally more through the context of how it was created, like the historical significance or background of the artist, but just viewing art doesn't really do much for me. If you think of the world and nature as art, I guess I feel the same way. I think it's more interesting to learn about how trees grow or how mountains are formed than just look at them. Same with things that are often considered heartwarming, like stories on the news. I can't just take them at face value. I overanalyze them, and movies too, to the point that the story isn't really the same. So yeah, and I've always thought this about myself. I've always been confused a little bit by people who seem to get some satisfaction out of art and nature and things like that. And I said, I've tried to force it in myself and I just can't relate. I just don't, I don't know. And I've just kind of put it as well, some people are just like that. Some people get joy out of things like that, but I just don't. And I don't, I don't think that's a problem. I think it's just some people are different. And this is a totally different subject, but it's just people are just so different. And I think a lot of people expect people to think like them, and because maybe a lot of people do get some sort of joy or feeling out of nature or art that they expect other people do, and maybe the vast majority of people do, but maybe other people are like me and they don't. So I don't know how abnormal that is, but that's how it is for me. I kind of wish I did. I wish I got some of that good feeling out of it, but I just don't. I never really have. And I just chalk it up to people are different. I'm different. And it's the same way when I see people that enjoy going out and partying and drinking and stuff. When I was younger, I did have fun going out, but it didn't seem to be the same way other people. I think it was more it was new and different. And so when I would go out, I wasn't necessarily just letting loose totally. It was more I would analyze things, oh, these people are, I think it was just there was so much newness to it. I was getting enjoyment out of just being out and experiencing it. But I always knew, I never understood people that like to drink and party. I did some of it. I did drink a little bit when I was younger, but I never really enjoyed it. And I knew, I'm like, I'm not getting the same feeling as some of these other people are. Like, some people could drink and just have such a great time. And to me, it was more like a chore. It was more like I was trying to get that feeling that those people were having, and it just never really happened. Like, I didn't like the taste of alcohol. I didn't really like the feeling of like being not in control of, you know, my actions and, you know, whatever. So there was very few times that I got like actually like drunk. And I just chalked it as like, these people who are drinking, alcohol affects different people in different ways, and it's not affecting me the same way as it does for other people. But I also understood that like it has to be affecting these people a different way, otherwise they wouldn't be doing it all the time. And so I just chalked it up to like, well, I'm different. I don't get that same enjoyment that the other people do get out of drinking. But now I'm starting to wonder, is it that abnormal, or was everybody else like me, like trying to fit in and trying to act like they were enjoying themselves? And even at like art galleries and stuff, that thought was always in my mind. I'm like, are all these people really enjoying this, or are they just like pretending to enjoy it because that's what you're supposed to do? Like, you're supposed to be into this. So I don't know, like, maybe let me know. Like, have you ever been in a place where you're acting the way that you feel like you're supposed to act, but like, how many people are just acting like they think that society expects them to act, and how many people are like really being their true selves? And I feel like as I've gotten older, I'm more like, I won't go out and drink anymore. There was a time that I tried to go and socialize without drinking, but it was weird because when I finally was just kind of like realized like, this isn't for me, you know, I'll still go out and socialize like with the people that I was in school with or whatever, but I just didn't really want to drink. And then it was kind of like people couldn't comprehend, like, you know, well, I'm offering to buy you a drink. Why wouldn't you want this drink that's free? And I was just like, no, thank you. I don't really want to drink. And then they were kind of like, they would start pressuring me like, oh, come on, just have a drink. And I don't know if in their mind they were like, how could she, you know, maybe I think it was almost like they had the feeling of like, I love to drink so much. Like, this is what I enjoy. Like, there's got to be some reason why she's not. Is it too expensive, or like what's the, you know? And it was almost like they just couldn't comprehend someone wanting to go out and not enjoy things the same way that they did. So eventually I just quit going out because I'm just like, well, I'm not enjoying things the same way other people are. And so now I won't, because I'm just like, it's not the same for me. I don't enjoy it. And same thing for like going to art galleries and stuff. Like, I don't know. Maybe I would. Maybe if I was like in Paris or something, or, you know, if I'm ever like have the opportunity to go to like the Sistine Chapel, or I don't know. But again, I feel like if I like went to these places that have a lot of this like amazing things, like I said, whenever I've traveled more recently, I like to look into the historical aspect of it and try to get some other form of enjoyment out of it, rather than just like being there, taking it in or whatever. So I think if I went someplace like Rome or something, and you've got like the Colosseum and all that stuff, you know, I would want to spend time before I go, like looking into the history of it. That way I could kind of like enjoy that aspect of it, but just like being there and taking it in. And I've had that experience too. Like, I've been to Paris and I've been kind of let down, I guess, every time I've gone to like these places that are supposed to be like these amazing places. And that probably sounds like terrible for me to say, but like, you know, I didn't get the same feeling of like how I thought people would feel going to these places. Like, seeing the Eiffel Tower, I was just kind of like, okay, here's this big thing here. And there, it was just like so crowded, and there was all these people, and there was a lot of like people trying to sell things, and yeah, like that was one thing that bothered me too about traveling, was like everything is so commercialized, and you know, you go places and it's always it seems to be a lot about like spending money and people trying to sell you stuff. And I don't know, I just didn't like kind of that aspect of a lot of the traveling to like these major things that you're supposed to see and find wonder out of it, and you know, all this stuff. But I don't know, I wish that I could like see more beauty in the world, but maybe it's just because of how the world is right now. And I know that there's a lot of like ugly things in the world. I think I tend to focus more on like, not that I'm a pessimist, but I can't enjoy some of the beauty when there's like ugly things around it at the same time. Like when I went to San Francisco, I've been to San Francisco like 3 times, and all these people are like, oh, San Francisco is so great. But there was just like, there was a lot of homelessness, and you know, you have all these like nice things, but then you also have like all this bad stuff going on, and it's kind of like, how can you enjoy, you know, like these nice things knowing that there's all of this kind of like misery and stuff kind of like tied into it? But that's kind of a totally different thing. But anyway, I feel like we're living in a world right now where there's like so much bad stuff going on that it's hard to focus on a lot of the good stuff, I guess. But anyway, I'm gonna stop there, and yeah, I'll be back tomorrow with day 148.